Our memory is like such an awful existence system. And I think, really the principle of increasing our completion rate and increasing the accuracy rate is all around existence.
Welcome to Season 2 of Leadership Impact, the podcast for modern executives who are reinventing leadership within their organizations. With your host, Executive Leadership Coach and CEO of the Granger Network, Kari Granger, and me, Paul Adams, CEO of Sound Financial Group. This season focuses on accountability. And to support you in increasing accountability in yourself and in those you lead, we're providing a special rate for our listeners who want to engage in one of our accountability courses. Text the word accountability to 555-888 for more information. This is episode 25, Words Disappear, How to Make Your Commitments Concrete.
Welcome back to Leadership Impact. Paul, today we're going to explore how we might increase the percentage of our completion rate, and not just our completion rate, but the accuracy rate for ourselves and those around us.
Man, Kari, this is a big one because I think one of the biggest things that tends to frustrate people with themselves is their inability to complete what they said they would do. And one of the biggest things that frustrates most people with other people in an organization are all of the things that people don't do that they said they would do or thought they should do inside of an organization.
Even, and to take it one more step is the accuracy. I'm thinking about, when you go to a restaurant and those servers, that it's like a game, they're not writing anything down. And, yes. Even the ones when there's like 10 people and they're not writing anything down. And how often does things come back not exactly accurate? In the way that they did it, or got distracted in between, yes. And it's such, in terms of transactions, those are really simple. Way more complex are the transactions our listeners are dealing with every single day. Yeah, totally. So let's talk about increasing our completion and accuracy rate. I love it. Well, I think one of the biggest things that I notice happens for people is that they say something like yes to a request. And then off we go and everybody thinks it's going to happen. Mm. But two things I think occur, which is one, I've had that experience I think I've talked about before on the podcast, where if somebody's not writing something down when I request it of them, I'm already resolving it's not going to occur. Yeah. And then even if they do write it down, but they don't ask any clarifying questions, I'm equally in the same spot, that whatever's going to happen is going to be, if it's what I want, it will be as a result of random chance, not as a result of a design set of systems or practices this person has. Yeah, I think, part of where that comes from is we don't see the difference between words and things like keys or pens or phones or, things. Because when we put things down somewhere, we may have forgotten where we put them down, but when we put things down, they stay put. Yeah? Yes. Yeah. So you may argue with me, but I promise that your keys actually are where you last left them.
Oh, they're also in the last place I looked.
Right, totally. And sure, sometimes people mess with you and move things around, but then they're where they put it. Like, so the things, the objects stay where you put them, unless acted upon by an outside force. But words are very different. When we give our word, where the word, it doesn't just sit there hanging out in the air, right? It's not like we say it and it sticks around. It doesn't by nature have any existence to it. So they just disappear. So I think part of what you're saying is, I know that words disappear, people's commitments, they disappear unless they put them down somewhere, like on an object. So it sticks around, right? Yes. So words by themselves don't have any existence. And then what do we rely on to keep them around is our memory.
Mm-hmm. Or sometimes my spouse's memory. I'll just say to Kristen, would you remind me later too?
Yes. My husband always tells me about his steel trap memory, which of course This is not as good as my own steel trap. No.
It is 100% effective 60% of the time. I don't know what the complaint is.
That's even high. Yeah, so our memory is like such an awful existence system. And I think, really the principle of increasing our completion rate and increasing the accuracy rate is all around existence. So what does that mean is actually having the proper, place to put your commitments down, and so that they exist for you as tangible as your keys or your phone or anything else.
Well, and what you're saying is we need to turn our words into objects, and whatever system we use to turn our words into something that will stick around, not just disappear instantly, is going to be this existence system. What would be an example of an existence system for somebody?
Yeah, well, if you really want to get a system, you're going to have to attend our productivity and accomplishment workshop, which,
for the record, I have already signed up for. 5 of our team members are coming. We're inviting clients of Sound Financial Group or listeners to the Your Business, Your Wealth podcast from all over the country to come and actually be in a workshop alongside the Sound Financial Group team given by the Granger Network. And that is September 30th to October 1st in the Denver, Colorado area. If you just text to 555-888 the word accountability, you'll actually get a discount code for this upcoming workshop where you can attend right alongside the Sound Financial Group team and some of our guests that are going to be from across the country. But that system, you'll learn the whole system. We're going to give you a piece of that about what it means to keep your word in existence here in a moment. But thank you for that distinction, Kari, where I was collapsing keeping your word in existence like with a tool versus the system that's taught in that productivity and accomplishment workshop, which you can also find if you just go to the Granger Network website.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there really is a difference between the principle, right? So the principle is existence. How do we have our promises, our words in existence? And then there's, tools for that, right? And you asked for an example. So, one thing that people do is they do keep to-do lists, right? So if something comes in, they write it on their to-do list, or they keep, one of the things that we talk about in our productivity workshop is a capture tool. So it looks a lot like a notebook and you're just capturing things all day long as they come in. So anything that's not captured, that's not written down, you relate to like, that's not going to happen, right? Now, here's the thing. That's only half of it. So 1/2 is actually writing it down or putting it in existence somewhere. Yeah, that's only 1/2. But how many of us have a to-do list of things that never get done? Right? Because it doesn't exist for you in a way that has you take the action. Okay?
Yeah. Otherwise, you just have Post-it notes, napkins, something you wrote on the back of your hand. You have scraps of information, but it's still not in existence for you because there's lots of scraps of information. Is that an okay translation of what you said?
That'd be one of them, yeah. Or just like a 20 item long to-do list where you mark off the easy things and the harder things just stay on there forever, right? Or there's no time associated. Or I've seen some people who have these notebooks that are 3/4 the way done. And if you scroll back to like the 10th page, there was some promise they were going to do for somebody 3 months ago that got overlooked. So existence isn't just, did you write it down? Did you put it on something? Existence is, it's got to show up for you in a way that has you take the action when you need to take the action. So like my husband, for example, on garbage day, we would forget garbage day every week. It was crazy, right? The two of us. And then we'd both be away from home. We'd go, it's recycling day. It's trash day, right? So he started writing these Post-it notes, which seems very simple. Of course, let's do a Post-it note. And that didn't work. Then we put it on he put it like on the door, and that didn't work. Then he actually put one Post-it note in his shoe, right? So like he had to move it. And then he put another Post-it note on the handle of the door, right? So if between his shoe and the handle he already forgot, he'd at least have to move it to open the door, and he could carry that Post-it note with him out to the truck, and he'd remember to take the garbage out. So that's what I call putting it in existence in a way that's going to have you take the action.
And have no option but to take the action. But and to me, that is one of the keys, is how often we say we're going to do X, Y, or Z. And it could even be, going to REI, because I went through using some of that same mission control methodology, although I've got to say I'm super overly excited to be able to do it with the Granger network and the level of rigor you have in your entire team. But doing it years ago, and one of the things that I realized was simple things like when I'm going to a particular store, and that my keeping something in existence, that I need to pick something up at, say, REI, means I need to know about it when I get to REI, not just have it on a list to put me in a position that, yes, I wrote it down, so I feel responsible and I did that. But the problem is I feel like a totally irresponsible and undependable person the minute I get back home and see it's still on my list to get that thing at REI that I had forgotten about while I was there.
Exactly. It's almost like the very nature of how we relate to time and how we relate to everything coming at us. So we have these really outdated time management practices in which, it was a good fit for the amount of things coming at us, right? So we have we just took from the paper world of calendars and writing things in our calendar, and then we just made them digital. But we haven't upgraded our way of thinking about time and commitments. We still think we need to get it all done, which there's no way to do that these days. We haven't upgraded our tools for dealing with how much is coming at us through all these different channels. And every year, more come. I mean, I remember teaching this course 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when we were dealing with email and text and phone and Skype. And now I got, WhatsApp and Telegram. It's just so much coming at us, right? And we have outdated ways of thinking about our own, just personal recovery and how we maintain our capacity for an endurance, not a sprint. So we're all sprinting all the time. This course is so much more than the tasks. And it's so much more than time management. It's a whole new paradigm for an exponential system for living in exponential times. There's just so much that we want existence for. And when you actually have a way to keep these things into existence, like your list for REI or the upcoming grocery list, just as you find ways to keep these things in existence, what that's going to do is that's going to free your mind, because where that happens right now is in the shower, right? Or on a run or driving down the road. These things will just pop into your head. Well, if we have a way to keep everything in existence and the information is there when you need it, right? So it prompts you to take the action, or the relevant information, like a list for REI, is there when you go to REI. When all those pieces are there when they need to be there, what that enables you to do is just be fully, available in your life, fully present. You don't have to be trying to remember everything all the time. It really frees you up and increases your rate of completion and the accuracy of your completion.
Well, and I just have to say that I remember going through this about 15 years ago, and then you normally just kind of drift back into the situation that is life. And as I've done that, I've gotten less rigorous with some of the practices because I just wasn't on top of it in a community of other people. Hence why I'm bringing in a total of 5 people from our team to make sure that something's there to keep it in existence for me when I get back, and the practices and accountability. But I will say to anybody considering doing this or attending the workshop, one of the biggest benefits is brilliance. That you do not realize the cognitive load that we're all carrying around every day, holding in our minds many of the details to things we said we would do. Even if it's in our calendar, we're holding the details or the intention or the why we're doing it in our head. Not to mention, we're holding in our head our entire capacity for everything we might be able to do should anybody ask us to do something new.
Mm.
So that even when somebody asks us, I think that's one of the biggest things that was helpful with mission control. And I really think in our next few episodes, we're also going to get a chance to touch on this. But man, oh man, the ability to simply say to somebody else, I would love to do that for you. But as I look at everything else there is that I've already said I would do or handle, I cannot get your thing done for 3 weeks, is enormously freeing and allows people to be super brilliant in every encounter they have, not because mission control or this Granger network methodology makes you more like smart, but it has you not carry around so much that you can be more brilliant in every one of those interactions, including with your family, as you said, Kari. So
yeah, the other thing I love that just kind of, you said it so fast, but the thing in terms of I won't be able to accomplish that for 3 weeks. One of the things that happens when we don't put what we've committed to in existence, and we're going to go so far as to say, if you commit to, for example, writing a summary report, and it typically takes you 2 hours, to put that 2 hours in your calendar. Many people, all they have on their calendar are deadlines and phone calls, if they even had deadlines, right? But
or a
deadlines
meeting.
Or meeting. Yeah, meeting, phone calls, and sometimes deadlines. But they don't actually put in the time that it takes to do things. So when you put in an existence structure, like enough time to complete what you've promised, you're better able to monitor what you say yes and no to. And what I find is it really helps people stop living in really this illusion of how much time they have.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. So back to the point of this episode is, how do we increase our completion rate? We ensure that what we give our word to has existence, and has existence in a way that's going to prompt us to take action when it's time to take action. And how to increase the completion rate with others is to be paying attention to, do they have proper existence? And is it set up in a way that's going to prompt them to take action? Now, if you're a manager, you can do this much easier, right? If you're, if I'm sitting at a restaurant and I notice that my server isn't writing anything down, I might make a bigger deal. Like, okay, oh, did I say I wanted dressing on the side? Did I already mention that? Oh yeah, I already mentioned I did want dressing on the side. So I'm going to say it like 3 times, right? Because I'm just noticing it's not being written down.
Kari, for the practice people could be in this week, keeping in mind that to build that entire existence system and teach that is this 2-day course, September 30th to October 1st, that the Granger Network's doing, Productivity and Accomplishment Workshop. So we can't give them a 2-day course and a podcast, but we could give them the one piece of how they might begin capturing. So I'm going to take a stab at it, and then you let me know if I missed the mark. Mm-hmm. But to start by maybe choosing one tool, one document on their iPhone, or a notepad that they keep with them, to just clearly write down everything that they need to know, that they committed to, that they gave their word to, that they gave a promise to do, that rather than letting it live in their brain, they just take long enough to be able to write it down and even maybe repeat it back to the person. Like, I want to make sure I got this, what I'm committing to do, as the mini implementation they could actually execute on later today and this week.
Yeah. And I'd only add one piece to that, is to schedule time, either weekly, or if you can handle it daily, to then go back through what you wrote down and put the pieces where they need to go. Right. So, if you wrote down that all these, specifications on a project that you promised someone, where would you put that? right? Would you put it in a folder? Would you put it in, the time that you have, set a time in your calendar? Just because having it in a location is really good, except when we never review it,
Yes.
then it doesn't exist for us in a way that prompts us to take action. So there's really two parts, right? It's finding that one tool, like you said, and writing things down, not relying on our memory. Whenever we think we're relying on our memory, let that be a red flag. Don't rely on memory. And the second piece is review that and put the things where they need to go so that they prompt you to take action and take, complete accurate action.
I think that's a great piece for people to take away. So the idea being, write it down, fully capture it, maybe even reproduce it back to the person who made the request. And you could even request that of other people. Being able to have something in your calendar every week that has you re-review your one tool that you're using for capturing all of these, and just make sure that that information, those tasks get in places they need to be. And then I'll give you one other fun one, which is when somebody asks you to do something, you don't have any way to capture it, like you're out on a run and you're out on a run with somebody else, neither of you have your phones, and will you do this for me, is being able to look right at that person and say, I would be happy to try. But because I have no capability of writing it down right now, unless you send me an email, it will be just that the stars aligned that I managed to get this done for you.
Oh my gosh,
Not
that's
because
so
it was
true.
by design, that is subtle, but sometimes people, kind of come alongside you with making requests you have no way to be able to keep a hold of or remember. And I just did it at a conference where somebody wanted me to remind them of a book. And I said, actually, I'll buy that book for you if you could email me a reminder so that it's in front of me when I can actually take action on that. Because
Yeah.
right now I can't. And it was great. And then if it didn't happen, they don't put that on me. And when it does happen, they are really appreciative that I had them ask me for that thing in a way I could actually complete it. And I literally just ordered that book for somebody that I saw in Tucson a couple of days ago, because when I went through my emails this morning, there it was.
Yeah. No, brilliant. That's right. Never commit to anything in which you're not able to put the proper existence in place.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, Kari, as always, this is great. I think that for our audience, they now have at least one tool with 2 steps that they can absolutely use. We hope that all of you get a chance to text that word accountability to 555-888. Again, that's 555-888. Text accountability to that number. You'll get the discount code on this workshop. And I kind of hope I get to see some of the Leadership Impact listeners at this event. And for those of you that can't make it to the event, I just want to say that we hope from the Granger Network to you that this episode has been a contribution to your leadership impact. Thank you for tuning into Leadership Impact, the podcast for modern executives who are reinventing leadership within their organizations. Subscribe now at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. And to support you in your leadership impact, we've offered a special course rate to you, our listeners. Just text the word accountability to 555-888 and you'll receive the link. Learn more at GrangerNetwork.com and join us next week on how to transform your leadership impact with accountability. Thank you for tuning into Leadership Impact, the podcast for modern executives who are reinventing leadership within their organizations. Subscribe now at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. And to support you in your leadership impact, we've offered a special course rate to you, our listeners. Just text the word accountability to 555-888 and you'll receive the link. Learn more at GrangerNetwork.com and join us next week on how to transform your leadership impact with accountability.